just want to come in for 1 minute. We're just going to do introductions here. So, how's everybody's day today? Good? Yeah? You guys excited? Okay. Yeah? Have you guys ever been out in the bush here in Canada yet? Before? No? How about back home? Do you guys have many parks and forests and stuff? Do you guys get to go out on the land? Okay, also all urban areas, okay. So right here we are in Toronto, largest urban area in Canada. But for me this is, my playground, this is my school, my pharmacy and my grocery store. So right here, even though we're right inside the city, for me I can come down and I have a relationship to the land. And that relationship has been shared to me through my ancestors and also those opportunities of learning from different community members and different elders and people that have experienced things. So we're just going to do an introduction. So right now we stand in a circle, and so within our culture, this is our most sacred element right here, is that we stand together. And it's very important because we got to remember this whole planet we have to share. And as people, if we ever destroy all the animals, or if we ever destroy all the plants, or if we destroy the minerals in the waters, we're all going to die. And that the whole world will die. Everything that we have to do, we have to be aware it is going to affect 7 generations from now. So are we growing enough food? Are we taking care of our elders? What is that situation? And so we thought about it here is we based a generation on 20 years. And so we would live in a place for one generation for 20 years, and then we would move. And then we'd move, and we'd move, and we'd move. And so it would take 120 years, 140 years for us to come back to that same place. And so all of those, so when we got back to that same place, if we didn't leave it in a way that when we came back 7 generations from now, we would die. You wouldn't have the food. You wouldn't have, those animals, those berries growing. You wouldn't have that established. And so today, for ourselves, as we think about 7 generations, is what is it that we're doing and how is it going to be carried through? Humility is knowing that your beliefs could be completely different and I can still learn from you. I can still have that sense of understanding, because as being humble, we understand as people, we're here to learn. It's what we're here to go through. And so within that humility becomes an understanding of love. And so love is made in the storybooks and the fantasy to be this beautiful, wonderful, happy thing that it's full of joy. But yet love is the hardest struggle and the greatest change and the most sacrifice and the most devastation anybody would ever have to go through in order to create change.
Welcome you guys to the Church of Pentecost. We are a Pentecostal denomination. And when you guys came, you went downstairs, right? So this church is dominated by a Ghanaian. So it's originated from Ghana. And through the leadership, it has traveled through the whole world. I saw one of you guys taking a picture of where the church is right now, the different countries that the church is being operated. It's about almost all the countries that exist in this world. So there's a church in China, there's a church in Korea, there's a church in Japan, there's a church in Australia, country. But where we find it very difficult to go is the northern part of the world, which is the Arab nations, where that's where we find it very difficult. But even there, they still have some of the churches, the underground church. So we'd like to welcome you guys. When you guys went downstairs, that is the same service, but it didn't operate in the traditional dialect. On one of the dialects there is called Akan, right? So they speak our traditional dialect. But here is English, where we're trying to bring the generation that was born here, and also we try to witness to the whole world, right? So we try to make it as something that everybody can feel and come in and just feel at home and listen to God minister to that individual. So first of all, we'd like to welcome you guys once again for coming to the Church of Pentecost. Amen. Amen. Welcome everybody that wants to come and worship, right? It's not just open for a particular Christian. But what happened is people feel comfortable with their group, right? So that's something we go to churches. Most of them is based on like culture and like tradition and people of the same kind, right? But that's not what God wants us. I mean, that's not what Christ wants us to be. When we go to evangelize, when we go to share the gospel in the world, we talk to everybody. So, but once they come, sometimes what has been happening is that they say they don't feel comfortable. It's a human nature. It's not spiritual nature. It's human nature. But we do have other people like who worship with us, who is not necessarily from the country that we're from. They're also from different countries like Guyana, Trinidad. We have a Canadian kid who worships with us right now, and we have another Canadian person who was worshiping. We have a whole lot of people that come. We have like Michel Kwan, who was worshiping us, but now he's pursuing, he's doing his doctorate, so he went away for school. So we have other people that comes and they worship with us. It's not just for one particular group. So everybody is welcome, right? But it's just the human nature part sets in once we go someplace that we don't feel comfortable, right? So that's why it's like that.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
You said you have a Canadian kid that comes, Canadian people. So would you regard yourself as Canadian or Ghanaian?
Well, I will regard myself as a dual citizen. How about that?
Good answer.
Right? Like I said yesterday, I was talking to this one here.
Yeah,
she's like, I'm Canadian. I wasn't born in Ghana. Right? So she's Canadian, but I would consider myself as a dual citizen because I was born in Ghana and I came here when I was 13, and then I've lived up to this point. So I have the passion of a Ghanaian in me. Let's say if a Ghana and Canada is playing something, competing, I'm like, I don't know, right? But my inner depth will be probably for Ghana, like, because that's the country of my birth. That's where I was born. But if Canada and let's say US is playing, of course I'm supporting Canada. So I would just say I'm a dual citizen, but I don't know about this one here. So.
Yeah, well,
Are you Canadian?
Yeah, I'm Canadian.
See, the country of her birth. So she was born here, so she thinks she's Canadian. Yeah.
Thank
Are
you.
you going to come back to Ghana?
Well, I've been to Ghana. I went there to visit, but I wouldn't go there to stay. Like maybe after you retired and it's cold here in Canada and I want to go and enjoy some sun, maybe I'll go there. But for right now, my family is here, everybody's here, so this is our new home and we enjoy it. Yeah.
I still saw some children that come to this church. So, can these children can speak the language of Ghana or?
Can you speak Ghana?
Can you speak Tree? I can understand Tree, that's what it is, but I can't speak it because I've lived here my whole life, so English is my first language. But these children here, most of them can't speak Tree unless their parents at home are really drilling them with the language.
They understand it.
But they
When you speak,
understand
they
it,
will
yeah.
understand it, but then speaking is a
Speaking it,
big,
they can't speak.
it's a big.
But if they go to the first floor, they can speak, right?
They will understand.
They want, no, the parents there, they speak it. They speak it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they speak it. But the kids there, they all will come upstairs here because they don't.
They
It's not.
understand.
Yeah.
Apparently, just like you said, people want to get together with people who have similar background as you do. And this church is too, as I see. So I want to ask if you consider this place for you to maintain your own background or your own culture, or a place where you can share your own culture. That's what I want.
That's a good question. And like I said, it is true, right? That people want to belong. But then our vision, right, is not to have that upstairs here. Downstairs they could do this. They could do that because only in the dialect. But upstairs, the vision is to proclaim the gospel to the whole world. So our vision is not to maintain that culture because Christianity is not a culture. Christianity is a message. It's a relationship. So we are trying to go out to proclaim the gospel to everybody, that invite them to come in and so that we can have a fellowship and understand, because sometimes even with the new Canadians, these guys, they always complain because they feel like there's a lot of culture that has been built into the faith, right? And we're trying to segregate that kind of aspect of the culture. We're trying to make it as a Christian home where there's no culture, there's nothing. All we do is Christ. And because everybody can associate with Christ, that's what we're trying to do. It's a vision. But then, what makes the vision not moving fast? Because most of the leaders, right, are all Ghanaian. And once a person is a Ghanaian, or what, everything that you do is inspired by what you know, right? And what they know is Ghana stuff, or what they know is the things that they were brought up with. So they can't say I know something if they don't know, right? So most of the things that they'll be doing is the Ghana stuff. But then a time is going to come, maybe in the next 10 years, when she is older and she became part of the leadership. Right? And then things will begin to change. Then because she doesn't know much culture in Ghana, she only knows the Canadian culture, she will begin to instill it in the Christian faith. And then like, no, there's no more Ghanaian culture. Let's keep it up to the Christian faith. But that's the vision that we're trying to have. That everything that we do will be a Christian based, not cultural based. Yeah.
Can I ask the dynamic youth what brought them to this church?
Okay. Answer that. You too. Sorry.
For me, I grew up in the church, so like once I was born, this is my church, and I've just been here my whole life.
Are your parents brought you?
Yeah, my parents brought me here, so I've never gone to any other church but this church. Except like I don't actually live here. I go to school somewhere else. So when I go to school at my like near Niagara Falls, if you know where it is, I go to a different church, which has like a different dynamic. But I've been in this church my whole life.
Okay, well for me, I grew up in Ghana. I just came here like 2 years ago, and I went to different churches when I came here. Like I went to like more than 5 churches. But when I came here, it was more welcoming for me. It was easy to relate. I was in another church that I really liked as well, but it all depends on how they welcome you when you come into a church, right? It's like how comfortable you feel, how you're able to relate. That's how they got me, because I was actually going to like, at that week, it was a friend of mine, we were actually going to choose where we were going to worship. But this was the last church we came to, and it was more open, like you felt more at home. So that is why I stayed here.
Can I ask what makes it different with the other churches? Because you said it's more like welcoming.
Yeah, like you know, for example, like sometimes you walk into a church, everybody looks at you differently. Like you just feel out of place. Do you get what I mean? Like that's how come you realize this church is culture based, because when you come, like you don't see different people. Like you only see one type of people. Like if you see my African friends, you see everybody wearing African print. Like you see this one way. That is what I mean. Like some other churches, like it's fine and everything, but just how homey you feel. Like once you feel out of place, you don't even take a part in what is going on. All you think is, oh my God, what am I doing here? Oh my God, like do you get what I mean? That's how it feels. But I was very comfortable in another church as well, but we got you. Yeah.
Yes.
I wonder why the church is divided in 2 languages for the Ghanaian language and English.
So like earlier when we were saying, the parents downstairs, they came from Ghana. They don't understand much of the English. Exactly, like if you, let's say your parents that came here, they will not understand much of the English. So in order for them to also cater for their needs in preaching the gospel, they have to have a dialect. And also the culture here, the people that were born here, they also don't understand the truth. So sometimes we have what we call joint service, where we have somebody preaching in English and somebody translating in the Ghanaian language. But then that still happens, it's too much, right? So we have once in a while. Yeah, you have something.
I was going to say, when they first started the church here, it was only like in the traditional language. And then they found that like the kids, when we were there, we didn't understand what was going on. We were just running around playing, and it was just getting too much for them. So then they decided to split it, and then that's when they had bought this building and decided to do English in the traditional language. Yeah.
You said when you are 13, you came to Canada. What makes you to bring you to Canada?
Oh, But I have no choice. My parents just tell me to come. Yeah, so my parents came, like, in back home, they have Ghana is blessed to be a country where there's no war. It's always very nice and quiet and peaceful. But sometimes people just want to see what's out there for a better life, for a life for more jobs, for security, right? So I think they came in looking for jobs. So they left us there, and then once they established and they settled here, we were young, and they told us, we have to be one family. So they just asked us to come. And you always want to be where your parents are, right? So I came to be with them. Yeah.
And is it the same?
Oh, no, my family back home, I came here for school. I'll tell you about my background. I was born in England, raised in Ghana, but I'm a Canadian. So, just saying.
She's the confused one.
Yeah, so they're there, but like, gradually my siblings will come for university as well. Yeah.
Excuse me, can I have a last one? I wonder, is there any Christians come to this church frequently who come from Asia or Europe?
Europe? Yeah, like I said, we have Michelle Kwan. Right now she's not here. She was an Asian, and she went away for school. She's doing doctorate. She medicine, so once she did that, so she went away for school. And she was even a part of the choir. And with Europe, we were not, I think what was, what's this guy? What's his name? Wayne.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's Canadian. Yeah, but we don't have any, but when people come from, we have churches in Europe, right?
Yeah.
So when they come here, sometimes they'll come and visit, and then they'll just walk through, right? But even these days, proclaiming the Christian faith is very hard, right? Even though we all think religion and everything, but so it makes the Christian faith become one of what everybody's preaching or everybody's saying, right? But we have to do what we have to do, right? To get more people into the saving knowledge of Christ. Because at the end of the day, if my sister here is sick, I can't just, and I'm the only one who knows that he's sick, I can't just go and force her and say, take medicine. No. She'll probably punch me in the face, right? Because but I have to show him that he's sick. I have to show that you have this sickness. So that when I'm giving him the medication, it will make sense. So that's what we're trying to do and tell the world, that we are all sick, right? We need a medicine, and the medicine is Jesus Christ, and that's what we're trying to do, right? But in order for us to come in and give you Jesus Christ, we have to show that you are sick. Otherwise, that's what we experience a lot of hardship, because people don't understand. We need to let people know that the nature of human being, we are all part of it. What makes me different now is just because I've put my faith and my trust in Jesus Christ. Right? And that's the only thing that makes me different. Right? That's it.
It's a very diverse community. Progress Church started about 22 years ago on another area of Scarborough. And we have been in this location for the past 8 years. So September will be 8 years since we're here. The congregation, there's a lot of first generation West Indian or Caribbean people here. So what we find, a lot of their children who are born will be second generation Canadian are growing up. So our average age group in this congregation will be about 35-40 in that age group. So you'll find that around here. We have with us Elder Angela Henry. She's been with us at this congregation for 15 years. And we have Elder Anne-Marie Moulton, okay, and she is our outreach coordinator here at the church, so she does in terms of a lot of the outreach coordinators. She is Elder Angela. The church is involved in terms of outreach, community activities. We are evangelical in our perspective. We teach the concept of Jesus Christ and salvation, that he died for the sins of mankind. So that's what you'll hear predominantly here. We do a lot of lively songs, so there's upbeat atmosphere when they come. into the church here.
Can I ask you a question? Because they are studying this course in multiculturalism here, and we're also looking at the critiques of multiculturalism in Canada too. And one of the things that we're hearing about is that sometimes there's a sense that even though there's diversity, it tends to be that they're under the umbrella of kind of the white culture. I mean, what do you find as, from the Caribbean? Do you feel that you have to kind of follow the white culture, or is there more freedom to be who you are here?
You know what, we do have the freedom to be who we are, because part of being Canadian is having that freedom to be who we are and to practice our own culture in our own rights. But we can't ignore the fact that we live in a white country. It's predominantly white Anglo-Saxon Canadians that originally lived here with the First Nations people. And so, coming from the Caribbean or having Caribbean descent or parents from the Caribbean, we all know of the whole colonialism, and it goes way back to slavery. And so we still deal with some of those hidden agendas. They're not as overt, but they're there. And racism and all that stuff still exists here, even though we're diverse. We still have to deal with some of those painful experiences, and on a day-to-day basis, there are still struggles with that, even though we live in a very multicultural city. There's some things that it is just what it is. White privilege is what it is. The fact that you are not white, you don't have the same advantage as quote unquote the white person. But at the same time, it's an amazing experience being able to live in an amazing city like Toronto, where you have not just culture, but you have the other sides of diversity, where you can be anything you want. You can be anything you want, you can do anything you want, and you don't have to let the stereotypes, and you don't have to let those experiences, however you describe those experiences, deter you or stop you from becoming all that you can. I mean, I was born in Jamaica, and I grew up here for a good chunk of my life, I get involved. I am Canadian. It's who I am. Even though I have Jamaican background, I am Canadian. This is my home. This is where I grew up. This is where I go to school. This is where I go to university. This is my home. And so I have no less right than the white person who is Canadian, or the other person, the Aboriginal Indian. I am Canadian. And so those rights, fundamental rights, are there for me, just being a Canadian citizen. And so I don't let the little stuff get in my way. I don't ignore that they exist. But I don't focus on it too long, because I have so much more at my disposal than to allow the little things to offset the bigger picture that my pastor talked about. There's always a bigger picture. I'm a social worker, that's my background, and I predominantly work on youth homelessness. I've done that work for 16 years on a secular level. And so, it's really about, focusing on people and engaging people and making a difference in people's lives. That's really what it's about for me. And Canada has allowed me the opportunity and the privilege to not only be here and to become more than I could have even dreamed for myself, but now I'm reproducing myself, and I'm helping other people to see their own dreams and to overcome the struggles and the obstacles and be all that they can be. Yeah, so I am Canadian. I love it. Yeah.
Alright, so my name is Malcolm-Emilio with a hyphen, that's my first name. Give thanks for life. It's good to be present again. The powers of Ra are giving us love and strength, My mother's from Chile, my father's from Barbados. I guess I've grown up most of my life in North America, but with strong, rich heritages of my culture, I've been able to balance myself out to move around and navigate in this place. And Toronto's a great city, it's very diverse. I feel like I got the whole world here. There's great chances for us to be able to connect intergenerationally and being able to talk with elders that have been here for a long time and ones that are just coming up as the younger generations right now, to just share different visions and be able to empower one another with different visions of putting back together what's like ancient civilizations, So I give thanks to the acknowledgement of carbon and melanated beings, and full ascension for all melanated ones, and give thanks for Africa's liberation and for the birth of this world, and the equality of humanity rests in, everyone's good intention and righteous liberty. Give thanks for life, Blessed love. All right.
Thank you. Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you.
In the mid-80s, 82 to 86, there was a recession, the first recession in Toronto. And then about 90, it followed out. It was a Eastern European community was Jewish, pretty much from the 30s to the let's say 90s. Portuguese, Eastern European, Caribbeans came in 86. Chinatown came in 1972 on Spadina. So the market hasn't really changed. But I started Kensington Market Working Group. I started a Kensington Market Business Association, and I worked with the planning department to regentrify the vision of Kensington in 1992.
Right.
The first festival in Kensington was 1997. I headed it up, ran it for 6 months. All the streets were closed, and it was a 3-day event with an art display and all that. It has now become pedestrian Kensington, walking like we do in Europe. We close down Kensington streets. George Brown College was converted into condos, one of those first retrofitted warehouse spaces into condos Toronto had. Out in the West End, the Candy Factory, the Horseshoe Factory down in Lower Spadina. After that, the condos started to be built in Toronto pretty much on the Marathon real estate land down at the Sky Dome and the CN Tower. I formerly worked for the Sky Dome, built in 1997 to, 86 to 97 it was developed. So I worked for the architects there, so I know the whole plan. My dad worked at the railway station at the very bottom of where the CN Tower was actually put. So the Marathon Real Estate sold all the space, privatized it, and then in came the developers. So Concordia has 11 buildings down at the foot of the lake. In the former days, you could be at the top of Spadina and see boats bopping. Now you don't see a boat, you see condos. The condos, though, owners, they get to see the boats, they block our view. But Kensington is now a nationally historical site, which is like older than Canada, 250-year-old neighborhood. Canada's not as that old. This was Upper and Lower Canada. Lord Denison, a former British man, sold his orchard and made this Kensington and named all the streets after his British heritage, which is why you have Augusta, Wales, Kensington, Kensington Palace, Kensington Street, St. Andrews, that's Scottish, which is just next door here. But primarily this was pretty much, known as the schmata industry. Spadina is the fashion corridor, you get the film corridor, also blues and music. There's a lot of blues happening on College to Dundas, so it's known for that kind of thing. So since then, Al landed up here in Kensington supplying leather. He left Spadina, the fashion industry, and came here about, 92. And so now it's becoming more gentrified. And the gentrification of the downtown corridor is basically young urbanized kids, under 30, the millennialites, which are pretty much from 21 to 28. Indisposable income, no children, no car. No car because the condos don't provide the maximum parking spaces. So that's why we have a nice railway system that was put in 1995. We created the bullards and the mascots at every stop that you get to, from pretty much from Harbour Street down to the lake, which is why you have then the offset of Chinatown, Kensington. There were no markers. So we came up with an idea by the architects, and we picked the artist, who then put 4 barriers opening Kensington from Dundas to Spadina, College to Bathurst is the core of Kensington. The business streets are from Augusta, Kensington, Baldwin, and St. Andrews primarily. The residential streets are on the other side of Augusta, which is protected to the west where the Western Hospital is. So this neighborhood has been here from the forefathers, way back, even before slavery. And back in the day when the British, or then Jewish, who first came here in late 1800s, the houses are built in 1896, mine is built in 1876, and the turn of the century 1905, the majority of these old houses. The reason the houses are painted different colors is when the Portuguese came in around 1952, called the first Pineiros, which is pioneers. And the first pioneers came, and the reason they're colored is because the Europeans in Portugal, when they want to see their boats, they're fishermen, they're the original Vikings from Columbus times, found Toronto, which is why Labrador is called Labrador, which is a Portuguese word, and also Cape Verde. There's a little townships there, Prince Edward Island. They're mixed with the Viking original, which are pretty much Nordic and Scottish and Irish are there. So the Portuguese moved up here when they landed, and as they've been progressively here for a long time, the houses are different colors because from the ocean, when the men wanted to see their houses, thinking Europe was the last place at the turn of the world, the houses were painted so you knew where you lived when you arrived with your boat off of fishing. So when they moved here to Toronto, the houses were painted in various colors. So that's why Kensington is so colorful. and that's what you have known here today. But when I was with a planning firm, an architectural firm, and being an interest resident that lived here, I pretty much didn't want to lose the value of this neighborhood. So we also inherited in the last 6 years a national historical site called Kensington Market, and it's a national historical site. So therefore, the density, the proximity, what can be built here, the height regulations, even shadowing of buildings can no longer affect this neighborhood, because this neighborhood is really meant for the people who live here and for the visitors who visit. So we want to keep it as old as we can, just like this trade, cutting leather, seeing people work hard. So the gentrification is changing, but we will never be a Yorkville. Though those in Toronto think it will be, but it will not be a Yorkville. It will always be where the first immigrants come. And although we are gentrifying, showcasing all the condo people down at Lake, and they're now buying and investing in the neighborhood, it has really changed the volume, the price ratio, you know, customership in this neighborhood. But the flavor of the neighborhood has never changed. And this neighborhood is really open to people disadvantaged, not having a job, even people from CAMH, which is mentally impaired. Unfortunately, it's also known as now where all the weed is coming. Cut that out. That's not good. The residents don't like it, but unfortunately, Trudeau, unless he changes it, we're stuck with it till like September when they legislate it. But it's not known for that, but it's known really for the vivacious colors, the people, the culture, the food. It's becoming foodie. It's not as much as shopping like it did in the European days. We had European meats. People would go home with their groceries, their bags, their kids. You could buy bird food here. You could get a chopped up chicken. Had a chicken factory here. You could buy a live cattle or duck or whatever and get it butchered in the back of the slaughterhouses in the late 50s, 60s, 70s until 86 when the bylaw and health department found too many tourists were coming here and they didn't like to see, like, you know, pigeon poop or, you know, donkey poo or whatever it was in the back street lanes where the animals were kept. So if you go to Toronto City Hall and look at the National Historical Sites and look at Kensington in the basement of City Hall, you'll see significant pictures and history of Toronto. And that's where you learn where the market originated. So welcome to Toronto. Thank you for shopping in Kensington. And always come and visit us because we're happy to have you.